Alright, what's happening, y'all? I'm back. It's me, your resident supervillain, Mr. J. Washington, and I'm here with the episode 8 review for Wandavision on Disney+. Now, if you have not seen this yet, you should already know the drill by now. Come on back, because there will be spoilers. There's a lot to talk about. I am super excited. I'm just fully waking up because I spent last night at the club, and by the club, I mean Club Wandavision, because if you follow me on Twitter, which you should be doing by now, go over on Twitter right now. Mr. J. Washington, MrJayWashington. I'm just waking up. But I said, yo, am I the only person now who, in preparation for WandaVision, we always take a nap a couple hours before, like you going to hit the club or the party, so that you want to be with it. You want to be watching it, whether it's midnight on the Pacific time or if it's 3 a.m. on the East Coast. You want to be there with everybody because you don't want spoilers, because you want to be on social media, but you know people going to talk about it, so you want to be a part of this conversation. So I feel like I'm a part of that. But thank you everybody also who's been in the comments, showing a lot of love and, bouncing back ideas and theories and going different ways and, either cooperating with mine or, opening new eyes and stuff like that. And I've been talking with a lot of my homies from back in Chicago. Shouts out to all the boys who catch up with me, all my nerd homies that grew up with, man. It's always dope that you got friends that, y'all still nerds together no matter how old y'all get. And y'all have these discussions like, yo, but what about this? And what about that? Because you know storylines and you start remembering stuff. So, yo, I love the fact that after episode 7 with Agatha all alone that became a bop, you were wondering what is this show going to do next? And that's the dopest thing I think about WandaVision is what it's done. It has brought back television. If for those who have heard it and don't get it, what this means is we are so used now to where streaming platforms have given us entire shows at one time. We got so accustomed to it, whereas you get a whole season, you can sit down in a day and watch it, right? Where we're back to the point where TV back in the day used to give you an episode, you have a cliffhanger, and it leaves you waiting until a week. And you had to make sure you see it because you wanted to know what happened next. And that is good television, what this has done. I even said, if you go back to the early beginning reviews of this, what episodes 1 and 2 and how people were kind of like, man, I don't know. This seemed kind of slow. I don't see what this is going to do. And then it started playing out. And it was playing out in front of you the whole time. But now we have to learn to be calm. We have this appetite for everything. And instead of having that appetite instantly satiated, we've been given different courses of the meal. You know what I'm saying? In this case, we've got a 9-course meal, potentially a 10. I'll talk about that later. But I like how this kicked off. First of all, the way the title call, how you see the Marvel and everything, and it goes from the regular red to the purple with the plume of smoke, with the magic. Now, this is the new phase we're in. Magic and cosmic. We're more cosmic and magical and quantum realms and micro realms and all this. So that's what we're going to. And we see Salem, Massachusetts, 1693, and what looks like to be the Salem witch trials, because you see Agatha being marched forth to the stake, be burned at the stake. And again, they will burn the women at the stake that they believe were witches and some that were witches. It was the craziest of shit. Because if a woman said something weird, like she was like, I think I want to wear my hair in a ponytail. That bitch is a witch. You're like, whoa, fam. She just don't want it in her face all the time when she just out chilling. But this isn't just from a community. This is from her coven. Her own coven, Agatha's own coven. They put her on trial because she is on a trial for practicing the darkest of magics. Like, she is going further than what she is supposed to be. She is learning so much more. That is the one thing you always hear in stories that involve magic. There's always a magician. There's always one who is super anxious to learn more. And they're greedy, per se. They want it all. And so that's what Agatha is. Now, here's the cool thing you checked out. So you see that Agatha is being held, and the main witch and the coven conducting the trial and being the juror and judge is her mother, who is listed as Agatha Harkness. Now, that ties into not that much, but we'll see if it plays along later. But back to Agatha at the trial, you see her about to be decimated by the witches in this trial in which they are basically finding her guilty, and in the process of the witches using their abilities on her, she turns the tides and uses it, and she absorbs all their energy and drains all their life essence. And then until the point where she tries to cry out to her mother, and her mother's like, it's too late. She takes the essence of her mother and takes the brooch we've been seeing, which was one of the main clues that people knew that, okay, that was Agatha Harkness. So we go to where we are now. There is no opening. That's another thing, too, you have to notice. There is no TV opening. I think we're done with TV now. We're WandaVision as far as in the third act of the movie, the WandaVision, where this is it. You know what this is now. Because everything has been revealed. There's no Wanda having to play out a TV show anymore. So we're still in the basement, which again, I believe is the nexus of all realities. Yes, there are different rooms. And if you notice, the doors open to different points in life, and where Agatha takes Wanda through and tells about let's go see some real reruns, in a sense, the real replays of your life that brought us to the point where we are today. And it's good because we filled a lot of holes in Wanda and Pietro's history, if you will. It's interesting too because early Agatha the whole time is seeing that Wanda's a witch. Now, I was one of those people that was like, well, I don't think they're gonna do that. Because, again, I didn't want to go like the mutant thing. And here's why. I knew it was once the deal, I've always said this, once the Fox-Disney deal, the merger deal was done, we all got excited and knew we'd possibly get the X-Men soon. And people just wanted X-Men versus Avengers or whatever the case may be. But I was like, they have a lot of stories they've set in motion already. And I trust Marvel Studios because of the track record they have. And so when they decided they're going to drop in the X-Men, it's going to be at the right time. Yes, WandaVision, House of M can be the perfect time. However, House of M is about her removing all the powers from the mutants. I know a lot of us are going, well, she can flip the switch and create the mutants. But we still got 2 episodes left. Again, I'll tell you why I say 2. But to see in the room, she's like, yo, don't you understand? These are runes. These are basic protection spells. Don't you know the fundamentals of magic? And so what you're seeing is Agatha only believes Wanda's powers are magical. She has no idea at first that these are from an Infinity Stone, basically. But what you find out is, first of all, how sad this playback in Wanda's life is going to be. Because the first door we go through is her in Sokovia. And we see we see Irina and Oleg, her parents. And Oleg comes in and he's been trying to sell movies and TV shows and DVDs all day, which are the old TV shows in which every episode has been predicated off of. There was Who's the Boss, The Addams Family, Bewitched, I Love Lucy, Malcolm in the Middle. I wonder what was the Who's the Boss one, though. That's the one I want. I know The Addams Family was the mix of the Munsters with Agatha all along, and some of the black and white episodes would happen. Of course, we knew I Love Lucy, Dick Van Dyke, and Bewitched. We knew those. Malcolm in the Middle, of course. But I was just wondering Who's the Boss one. But anyway, you see Wanda watching Pietro, little Pietro talking about that he had to learn to speak English and the family. And then Pietro calls Wanda, and Wanda, even though she's with Agatha, she gets brought into the scene as younger Wanda. And long story short, where they're watching TV as a family. And you see the moment the air raid happens, the one we hear about at Age of Ultron. We see the moment where Wanda and Pietro are trapped under rubble, and a Stark Enterprises bomb is sitting right there. And it's about to, remember she said, we're waiting on the bomb to blow us up. The Stark Industries bomb. And she's still watching old TV. So again, it goes back to, that's what I was saying, like, okay, this is why the episodes are in black and white. This is what she grew up with her family. So Agatha sees all that and is like, yo, you used the probability hex. And Wanda was like, nah, it was just defective. So again, maybe Wanda seemingly is a witch, has always been a witch. And what we're finding out is the Infinity Stone, the Mind Stone, knew it. The Mind Stone knew Wanda was a witch, and it just enhanced what she had. So, which adds the other question about Pietro, as I was going to bring up. Did Pietro have some type of speed potential anyway, and the Mind Stone enhanced that? Because, remember, we're only talking about Wanda because Wanda's alive. Wanda is the protagonist of this story, or is she the antagonist? It's really a catch-22 if you want to ask. But you see everything that happened with Wanda. The question is, was Pietro gifted to an extent? And then the Mind Stone enhanced his gifts. Made him, enhanced him, like I said. I wanted to talk about also the cicada, excuse me. Remember, this show has had so many Easter eggs throughout it, right? Where anytime you see something small, or you see something that could be that the camera holds on for too long, you're automatically like, yo, what is that? Who is that? What is this? The cicada, everybody was like, is that Mephisto? Mephisto has popped up in everything. Like somebody blinks, that's Mephisto. Oh my God, did you see that leaf move in the backdrop? That's Mephisto. Like, At this point, I don't think we're getting Mephisto. I don't know if it is going to be Agatha herself, or if they're going to use Agatha. I think Agatha is connected to somebody else. I'm not 100% sure it's Mephisto. I'm not 100% sure it's Cthon either. You know what I'm saying? Because I did say I'm not 100% it's Cthon. Cthon, if you have to read the comics to understand that this is another dark entity, which again I'll tell you about. I'm about to write this down so I remember my Cthon theory. I didn't write that when I was typing my notes out. Anyway, but all of these different things are happening, right? The cicada, we find out, is nothing but just another mind control spell and transfiguration and just changing things. It's not anybody important. So what else I've loved about this show is when we all come up with theories, myself, anybody else on YouTube or Twitch or Twitter, whatever, when we make our theories, a lot of times some of them may come to fruition because we know the stories and we kind of can see it. Other times they just get skeet shot out the air, like pull, boom, down. And I think that's what's happened with our mutant theory pretty quickly, especially with our Pietro theory. They shot a Pietro theory down pretty much quickly. But then we see how she goes after the situation that with the bomb and everything. We see how she gets radicalized, by Hydra. And we see her volunteering for the experiments. And Agatha was like, so your idea was to join an anti-freedom terrorist organization. That's how you thought was best to get back. But then you see her being approached by the stone, and you hear I think that was Strucker or one of the scientists, say, no one else has survived being introduced to it. And you see at that moment the scepter, Loki's scepter, where the Mind Stone was housed in the case before Age of Ultron, nobody knew it was in there. And then the stone itself comes out to reach out to Wanda, an Infinity Stone, which we forget about the powers of these Infinity Stones. We've seen them, what they did on a whole level in Endgame and Infinity War with a snap, and we've seen them individually, but like to an extent on certain levels, you're like, shit, they're this powerful as to what they can do. And also, when you're talking about the mind, the mental, that shit is just big within itself. We see how it unlocks her abilities, right? One of the dope things, too, I remember is, watching on a security camera, they don't see the stone come out to her. The scientists. It jump cuts, i.e. the jump cuts we saw in WandaVision when she wanted you to see what you wanted to see. So that was something there. She goes to the Avengers compound, and we fast forward to the Avengers compound, and she's sitting up watching Malcolm in the Middle. She watches Brady Bunch in her cell, and when she's back in her holding cell from being a volunteer, which is really weird. I mean, but it's Hydra, so it's like, yeah. But when we go forward to the Avengers compound, and she's like, this is after Pietro's died. She's sitting in the compound, and Vision comes in. Vision comes through the walls. He's like, he doesn't mean intrude. He is open. He's still learning and understanding things, and watching Malcolm in the Middle, and Bryan Cranston has a whole patio fall on him, and Vision was like, why is this shit funny? Because the injured, like, to an extent, Vision is a synthezoid, but he made some sense, like, we laughing at my man's pain, and Wanda was like, it's not that type of show, but a fucking part of a building just fell on this nigga. Like, I get it, but then we hear Wanda talking about how she's lost everything. She's lost her home. She's lost her mother and her father. She's just recently lost her brother. She has nothing. And Vision was like, I've never had anybody to lose. And then he says the one line that they hit everybody who's ever lost and try to relove again. Whoever's lost and try to find happiness. Who's ever lost and try to find some level of understanding. And says, but what is grief if not love persevering? That was the moment they fell for each other. And that was the moment Wanda knew she had her unlimited vibrator. That was the moment Wanda knew, look, my heart's going to be happy. My tingly part's going to be happy. I don't know. I just had... Anyway. So we see later Wanda goes to Sword after everybody started to come back. She walks in the Sword, walks up to the desk. Look, I just want to get his body. Which is crazy because it's like, yo, this is an Avenger. I mean, I get it. It's Sword. I get it. But like, yo, this is an Avenger just walking in the door. She's like, I need Sword. I want to go get his body. And then like the dude at the front desk is like, all right, I'll send it back. Tells her to go to the door. He's like, I got to buzz you in. She's like, don't worry about it. They just... And she goes sees Hayward. Hayward, who is an asshole now. Hayward has become, I think director Hayward is the bigger antagonist of this show, more than Agatha, because he's antagonizing the fuck out of Wanda, and he did by taking the biggest thing. She only wanted one thing, was to bury Vision. She felt he deserved a proper burial, and I think that speaks volumes because, again, she never was able to give her mother and father a burial. She was never able to give Pietro a burial. She wanted to give Vision a burial, and she sees they've dissected him and taken him apart, and that's when she freaks out. She's like, "Yo, let me take his body," and Hayward is like, "I can't let you put $3 billion worth of vibranium in the ground." And you watching that part and you're like, "Oh shit, here we go. You think it's gonna be what it is, but it's something after that. Wanda leaves and she gets in the car, which Wanda has a nice Buick, which I believe Matthew McConaughey was advertising. "Hey Wanda, you ever want to sit back comfortable and just all right. You and your Vision, get a Buick." That's how I felt that shit was. But she drives to Westview, and you see Westview for what it really is at the time. Because the whole time throughout this entire series, we've been seeing the Wanda created Westview. Remember, in the first couple episodes, we heard that Westview wasn't real. It wasn't a real town. Westview's always been a real town. But Wanda had people under her control to make it seem like there was no Westview, there's only Eastview. But Westview was decimated. It was a small town that was hit hard with the snapping. I'm not calling it a blip. And then you finally answer something. You see you start seeing different players of the game who people were wondering if they were different people. Again, I said I had this discussion with Winston A. Marshall, my Blurs in the Hood co-host, and he kept saying, "Herb's the high evolutionary somebody." I was like, no, Herb is nobody. Herb is a regular resident of Westview. You found that out when they did the IDs. You saw that Herb was a regular dude. Betty Jo Rupp from that 70s show. She's just sitting in a cafe. Again, I don't think we saw Dottie. So that still leaves that Clea element open. Clea is eventually the ex-wife of Doctor Strange. Magical things. Boom. Now, people are saying Dottie could be Emma Frost. That could work. Again, I don't know if we can just jump on putting a mutant into place just yet. Not sure. I mean, it works potentially. We go see Wanda goes to a lot area, and she has a property deed for a lot that's for Wanda Maximoff and the Vision, and it says to grow old in V. And she just breaks down, and it's at that moment, her anger, her emptiness, her sadness, everything she told Pietro she felt when Pietro asked how did she create it, which basically was Agatha asking how did she create it. That hurt, that anger, that loss, that emptiness manifested out and created the home, but changed Westview into what she wanted it to be. And all of a sudden, that's when we get the beginning of WandaVision. And we also see that Wanda recreates Vision in that moment. Now, this is where it got interesting, because that lets you know, is the footage that director Hayward showed Monica, Jimmy Woo, and Darcy saying she broke in and stole his body is a lie. He figured out how to repower Vision. We find that out later. That's why that Vision couldn't leave the Hex, because that Vision wasn't real outside of the Hex. We all thought it was the broken different pieces of Vision that Wanda snatched up. She never took Vision. Her energy from, again, clearly the Mind Stone and her magic abilities brought Vision back to life, right? So you see all that. And then Agatha is trying to figure out everything and tell her. And then Agatha's like, "Yo, you are a witch," and let them know, what this is. And then she tells her she has the kids on leashes, like magical leashes. And Wanda wants her kids. And you see Agatha in her true form with her costume, with her suit and everything. And she tells her, this is called chaos. She's like, you can make worlds and realities and everything. She said, this is chaos magic, and you are the Scarlet Witch. Now, people are like, oh, but they've always called it Scarlet Witch. On toys, they labeled it Scarlet Witch. I get it. On packaging of Marvel Legends and Avengers figures for the movies, it's always been labeled Scarlet Witch. We know. But technically, within the MCU, until this particular moment, she has never been called the Scarlet Witch. Now the name will stick. Now the question becomes, where do we go forward? Let's talk about this post-credit scene. Cut back, post-credit scene. You figure out, you're like, okay, Hayward's like, we're launching. The dude telling him we ready, do it. He's like, we've been looking for a power source to power this thing. And all we knew, we had it right here. They take the drone that went through the hex and still had the energy signature. And they're powering up the gray vision. Cataract. What does cataract do? Give you double vision. Gray vision. The second vision. Now, could have been Wonder Man. Wonder Man could be on ice somewhere. Because Wonder Man in comics is like how Vision is created, a bit of Wonder Man's brain and everything, so they can go that way. All right, cool. So, here we are now. We have our gray vision. We have our Vision in the Hex. Wanda in the Hex with Agatha. The kids. Here's something that may be happening. Now, that gray vision is one thing, but I started thinking about this, and I dismissed it for a while. I kept dismissing it when people kept bringing it up, and I kind of dismissed it. And I thought about it after watching this, and I was like, that makes all the sense now. The gray vision is actually going to be Ultron. Here's why. First of all, they keep plugging the fuck out of Age of Ultron, but it's also because it helps you understand the story of the twins, right? Where they come from. Think about this. When Ultron's created, when Vision is created, the link is Ultron, and then they cut the link off. Ultron is still in Vision. You even hear it in Infinity War. What this is, there's no Mind Stone, right? There's no Mind Stone to power this. So there's no Vision's own brain. There's no Stark. There's no Banner. This is pure Ultron that Hayward is going to think he can control, but it's actually another Ultron. As a James Spader, I hope so, because James Spader was amazing as Ultron. So you have those. Now, this opens up the door for so much more again. This is supposed to be the penultimate episode, meaning the one before the end. But I think we have a 10th. So there is a symbol, the making of WandaVision episode. And people are like, oh, that's just a behind the scenes. But let's think about this for a second, everybody. Look at the show we've been given for 8 episodes now. We've lived in a television show that's fed to the real world. We even went the mockumentary style just in this most recent episode. Wouldn't it only seem feasible that the 10th episode is like a reunion show, a making of WandaVision, if you will, but it's a secret episode we don't realize we're watching the whole time? That's why I think the 10th episode is another episode. Now, I tweeted, the finale ain't the finale. I'm not saying this gets a season 2. I strongly doubt it. People are like, oh, are we getting a second season? You got to remember, this show was only meant to go into Doctor Strange 2. Now, I know some people are like, yo, well, that was before the streaming numbers and people started talking about it. That's fair. But again, Marvel Studios has a plan. How do you want to, I get, yeah, you can deviate, but Marvel Studios makes plans for the long run from which we've seen. They don't make a 1 movie to the 4th movie plan and just a few things in between. They make a 1 movie to the 10th movie plan. 23rd movie plan, right? And they have the pieces put in. So everything we're seeing is built into different things. Again, WandaVision potentially is setting up the twins' arrival for the West Coast Avengers because we're getting Miss Marvel. We've got Kate Bishop's Hawkeye, etc., etc. Wonder Man may come in. If you watched one of the snippets, that showrunner Jack Schaefer, who deserves all her flowers for this. All her flowers, all the praise to put this story together. There's a picture of Simon Williams, a.k.a. Wonder Man. So I don't think, I might be wrong. I'm not going to say I'm always right. I'm not going to say I'm right. But I don't think the 10th episode, I don't think there's a season 2 of this. There's no need to. Because, again, it flows in the series. Because, again, the same thing will be said about if we feel the same way about Falcon and Winter Soldier. If we feel the same way about Loki. If we feel the same way about Hawkeye, about Miss Marvel. You get what I'm saying? And we're like, yo, there got to be a season 2. There's not meant to be a season 2. There's just meant to be a TV, a limited series, a special event. These used to happen all the time in television. Again, you would have these. Shit, Patty Jenkins just did I Am the Night a while back on TNT. Shout out to my homie Justin Cornwell, who was on it. And like, it's a TV, it's a series, it's a special event. And that's what this is, a TV special event. So there's possibly no reason for a second season now. So that's why I say the 10th episode is something to still fill in. Now let's go to this still Luke Skywalker level cameo that everybody is wondering who. Now, when you say Luke Skywalker cameo, what do you mean? Is a level of a cameo so high that you could not believe it was that person? Everybody keeps going, it's going to be Magneto or Professor X. I would say Professor X over Magneto if that happens. Because we've already got Quicksilver, Pietro in a sense. Even though he wasn't real, it just seemed like automatic, yeah, well, here comes their daddy. I would say at Xavier because it would make sense if you're going to go that route. And then it's not going to be Stewart because he's got Picard and he said he's done with the role. And also, why would you bring in Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier if you're not going to be able to use him as Charles Xavier going forward with your new X-Men? James McAvoy, however, if he still wants to sign on, if he's still available, he's still young enough and he still can give you the time and he still has been into the character to go forward, right? So those are the two. Here's where I personally have a deeper theory. This is me, okay? So I was talking to one of my homies, and we saw about the Darkhold in episode 7, right? We all know the book is the Darkhold. Now, when the Darkhold, you're talking about magic. So again, there's Mephisto, who's the devil, who some people, again, the China thing, we don't know, whatever. Let's just put that to the side, right there. There's Dormammu, who's definitely still a part of the magic realm, and with Doctor Strange too, right? But there's also Chthon. Chthon is another element, another magical being, connected with Agatha Harkness. Now, here's where my Luke Skywalker level cameo tease comes in. If you read up and do some studying about Chthon, do some Googling, do some researching real quick, Chthon at a point makes one little thing called vampires. If Chthon creates vampires, and even though they do exist already, a Luke Skywalker level cameo can be Blade. Played by who? Mahershala Ali. Why do I say that? They just recently announced they have the writer. Now, when they announce they have a writer, when they announce they have a director, I got to give you some behind-the-scenes industry mojo, per se. It does not mean as soon as that's been announced, the writing is happening. That means the writing has been going on, and it's now time to announce it. I say that because you now got to you're getting people ready for it. You want people remembering that this is going to happen, right? This is just a theory. It's a wild out there theory. It's not a guaranteed a given. I don't think this cameo is Doctor Strange because we already know it goes into Doctor Strange 2. It goes into Doctor Strange into the Multiverse of Madness. That would not make this cameo level high enough. It's a big cameo, yes, but it's not a Luke Skywalker unexpected cameo. House of M, everything that we're playing with, can give you a thought of, okay, Charles Xavier or Magneto. I get those. But if you really want a surprise, that's me just deep diving. That's me just comic book nerding. Shout out to the big homie, big sweaty, John Schnapp. That's me nerding real quick. You go to Blade. But again, the possibilities are endless. I think in this 9th episode, we get the reveal of who Monica's aerospace engineer friend is. We for sure get that. It's going to be somebody. I don't think it's Reed Richards. I don't think it's that. We're going to get some reveals. But again, this cameo is what's going to have everybody on the edge of their seat. Now, if it is McAvoy, if it's Stewart, McAvoy, McClellan, and Fassbender, I'm not complaining no matter what. I'm not complaining. I just want to know what can you do with those characters going forth. Because again, Stewart and McClellan concern me because again, Stewart has Picard he's dealing with the other Star Trek shows, and then I don't know if CBS and Paramount will let him do both. McClellan is doing a couple things, but he's kind of said he's retired, so you're not going to be able to use him as Magneto going forth. Fassbender, who knows? McAvoy, who knows? But Fassbender is too obvious again because of Pietro already and the exact same Pietro from Fassbender's. You get what I'm saying? Using Evan Peters and then Michael Fassbender, I understand we want to tie that world together, but I think it's too obvious. You know, there are certain things that are obvious that the MCU has done, and then there are certain things that swerve. So, like, yeah, some people, like, I had one dude was like, yo, it ain't that deep. I was like, you don't understand. They will go deep on things, but you just got to pick up on them. So, that's just my thoughts as a whole about episode 8. I want to know what you all thought about it down in those comments below, all right? So, go ahead and like, subscribe to the channel, please. Subscribe to your boy. Click on the notification bell. I'm dropping more reviews for Wandavision. I've got Black Lightning reviews. I was doing Batwoman, but I was in the hospital, like I said, back pain, all that stuff. So I'm doing all these things, man. I want y'all to keep rocking with me. And follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Mr. J Washington. MRJAY. You should know how to spell Washington, okay? Check out the Mad Titan podcast. I'm going to be recording that in about a couple hours because there's been so much stuff dropping. Every time I get ready to record, so much more stuff drops. So I'm like, let me wait. We'll do that. Oh, excuse me. Everywhere you get your podcast from, get all this stuff caught up in the Marvel and DC live action cinematic universes. Blurs in the Hood every Tuesday and Thursday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. on the East Coast. Me and my homie, my bro, Winston A. Marshall. We talk about the world of pop culture, entertainment, news, nerddom, sports, and a whole lot more from a blurred perspective, black nerds, but we are unapologetically black through the whole thing. It's a bunch of laughs, a lot of information, and keeping shit A100, all right? Holla at y'all next week for the potential finale of WandaVision. Take care. I'm out. Bye.